start talking about play. That's just an incredibly fun topic to talk about. And you know, one of the things I love so much about play is that it makes you happy to talk about it, doesn't it? You know, just the word play, it sounds so good. But the thing about play is that it's so fun, it's frolicsome, and it's really serious stuff. Because play has a huge impact both to the good and to the bad on our relationship with dogs. It has a relationship between people, has a relationship between children, has a relationship between parents and children, has a huge relationship between dogs and other dogs, and between your dog and you. And so it deserves a lot more attention than it's gotten. I'm really gratified that play is such a hot topic right now in dog training, because it should be, because it's a really important part of what we do. How you would define play. You might play with that tonight, as a matter of fact, sort of a fun exercise. Obviously, there's some ways we can attempt to answer it. We'll work on that this afternoon. You can certainly go to the dictionary. One of the dictionary definitions is play, to occupy oneself in amusement, sport, or other recreation, i.e. children playing with toys. Okay, that works for me. What if you're a biologist watching animals in the field? How would you decide that that definition would help you understand if an animal is fighting or playing or being predatory or mating or whatever? How would you say, excuse me, are you amused? You know, how do you know? How do you know? That definition works for people, but if you put yourself in the place of a biologist studying behavior, all of a sudden play gets really, really tricky. And I'll tell you, careers have been made and lost by people trying to understand play. It's a very difficult topic to study scientifically. Scientists have struggled with it for a very, very long time, partly because it's so hard to define. And one of the reasons it's so hard to define, as I said earlier, so many of the actions that you see in play, you see in other contexts. So it's not like there's unique things. You can say, oh, well, they only do that when they're playing. Because just about everything that animals do when they're playing, they do in another context, like being predatory. So just think about these types of play as we go through these. Obviously, we know there's social play. We talked a lot about that. Very common in social animals like dogs and chimpanzees. Social play involves play fighting, like the polar bear and these two Eskies playing. Wrestle play, rough and tumble wrestle play is extremely common. Cats, dogs, primates. Don't see a lot of that in ungulates. Hoofed animals. Don't see a lot of sheep down on the ground wrestling each other. Don't see a lot of cows doing that. Don't see a lot of horses doing that. Predators play rough and tumble wrestle play. Prey animals do not.
Drop.
So there's a pattern here, right? I catch the ball and I never get it. So here's my question. Is this a problem? If this was your dog, would you consider this to be a problem? Well, what do you need to know to answer that? Does it bother the other dog? Exactly. And does this other dog look bothered? No, I don't think this, I don't think this dog looks particularly bothered. Yeah, a little vertical play there. Okay, fine, take the ball. So I want to just briefly talk about the benefits of play. There are a lot of them. It strengthens our social bond, and this is true of many species, by the way. There is research on play that shows that adult parents, hopefully they're adults, parents who play with their children have stronger and richer relationships with their children. The more you play with your kid, the better a bond you have with your kid. And there's no reason to not believe that that would be true between us and our dogs. Play has a positive effect on our emotional health. You all know that a great way to modulate your physiology and your emotions is to be playful and childlike, not childish, but childlike. I would argue that that's also true of dogs. Isn't that a great picture? Somebody who reads my blog sent that in. Isn't that gorgeous? Gorgeous picture. We all know that play often involves healthy exercise. I would argue that it should include mental as well as physical exercise. One of the things we talk about in Play Together, Stay Together is how important mental exercise is and how useful it is when you need to tire your dog out. The way we tell dogs we want to play is we pick up a toy, right? So that's the most common way to do it. But again, Rooney, Bradshaw, and Robinson looked at dog owners and asked them to get their dogs to play and then videotaped it and looked to see what they did. The one thing that only constraint was they couldn't use a toy. So they asked them to try and get their dogs to play without a toy. So I thought, wouldn't it be fun to try and replicate that? So I just went to some of my friends and some of my clients and said, these are some of the signals that Rooney and Bradshaw and Robinson found people used to try and get their dogs to play. And these are the ones that they found were ineffective. Although I should tell you that one of the most interesting results of their research is they found that there was no correlation between the frequency of how often people tried things and how effective it was.